What's up guys, Tyler Wayrung here, and today we're going to talk about how real estate investing pays you and all the different ways that it does that. I was actually recently on an investor panel talking about all the benefits of real estate investing, or why you should do it, and actually the panelist asked me, all right, so your criteria is, $200 a door. Why do you go through so much work? You talked about how hard it is to, find the leads, follow up with them, stay consistent, direct mail them, and you do all that, you land a deal and you get $200 a month. Why do you do all that for such a little payoff? And actually the question really caught me off guard. I was like, oh, wow, I know it's beneficial, but how do I answer this question? And so my mind immediately went to, yeah, you're right. One of them doesn't really benefit you a ton. 200 bucks, let's just, that pays for your cell phone bill. Okay, cool. But we're talking about trying to create, life-changing wealth, and $200 a month just isn't going to do it. So then once I had time to let it process, I thought about all the different ways that you're paid in real estate. And so I want to talk to you guys about that today and hopefully clear up any misconceptions there if you thought this same concept of why I'll do all this for such a little bit of cash flow every month. So with that, let's jump into the 5 different ways that you're paid with investment real estate. All right, so for number 1, it's cash flow. That's the one we just talked about. It's the most obvious. And cash flow is the net amount you have left over after you pay for your mortgage, after you pay for taxes and insurance, and you factor in an amount that you're setting aside each month for maintenance, capital expenditures, and other things that are going to come up and happen. After you set all that aside, that is cash flow, not just your rent minus your mortgage. That's not cash flow. So make sure you're running those numbers correctly. But cash flow is number 1 way that real estate pays you, typically on a monthly basis, and you can expound that out to a year to kind of compare those returns with other investments that you look at on a yearly basis, such as the stock market and the 10% mark that's typically associated with doing that. All right, so the second way that real estate pays you is appreciation. Historically, homes have appreciated of roughly 3 to 5%, but I think anyone in the last 5 to 10 years in this bull market, has seen extreme appreciation. We've seen properties shoot up in value, and now this won't do this every year, so you can't count on it. They like to call appreciation icing on the cake in the investment communities. But you really can, if you're in this for the long term, you want to consider that as a wealth creation tool of real estate, because in the long term, it is going to appreciate if you hold it long enough. So that's number 2. All right, so the third way real estate pays you is through debt pay down. Every month that you collect rent and you make your mortgage payment, part of that payment is principal amount that's getting paid down each month. And if you hold a property for the full duration of your loan schedule, whether it's a 20-year amortization or 30, if you hold it for that whole time, essentially your tenants will pay the property off for you. Now this does, it starts off very small and little chunks, but when you start to look at things on a 5, 10, 15-year basis, these things really add up and really factor in. So you definitely want to consider principal pay down. Another thing with principal pay down that I didn't realize until I started getting into higher priced properties, the bigger mortgage payment that you're making, the bigger the principal pay down is going to be, and then it's easier to realize when you start talking real numbers instead of $30, $40, $100 a month. I have a $500,000 apartment community that every month it's $1,000 of principal pay down, and that starts to add up quickly when you look at a 5 and 10-year basis. All right, the fourth way that real estate pays you is through depreciation. We talked about appreciation, where the real estate values are likely to go up over time, but depreciation is a tax benefit, where every year the government allows you to depreciate a portion of the real estate. And you want to talk to a CPA. This isn't specific tax advice, but for most residential properties, the value of your property less the value of the land. So if you go on your tax assessor site, usually there'll be an assessed value of just the property, not the land, but that amount of the property will be divided by 27.5 years, and then each year you get to depreciate the property by that amount. So that typically will wipe out your cash flow and show you as cash flow neutral from a tax basis. But again, you want to talk to your accountant. But this is a real benefit that you'll want to consider and learn more about when you start to buy investment property. All right, the fifth way that real estate pays you, and I have to pay homage to Keith Weinhold, who runs a channel called Get Rich Education. Taught me a lot in the beginning, but this is where I got this fifth wealth creation benefit of real estate from, and that is the inflation hedging benefit of real estate. All right, so when you get a fixed interest rate loan, you're basically locking that payment in for that same duration we talked about before. Whether it's 20, 30 years, you're basically locking that payment in. And we all know with the crazy inflation that's going on right now, that's going to be a huge benefit. A lot of people don't understand this when we talk real estate, but if we tie it back to groceries, if you've been to the grocery over the last 5 years, I bet you've noticed an increase that every time you go in there, it's at least $100 or $150. I don't think me or my wife can walk in without dropping at least one hundo. So it didn't always used to be that way. So think about it like this. Basically, this inflation hedging benefit would be the same as you locking in your current grocery bill for the next 30 years. So let's say you went to the grocery, you stock up, whatever that amount is. I think likely we all know in 30 years from now it's going to be a lot more. What if you could lock that in now, right? I hope that helps to look at it through that lens. But that's the same thing you're doing with your fixed interest rate mortgage. You're locking that payment in. The value of money goes down every day, and that also erodes the value of the payment that you have to make to the bank every month. So that one is a little deeper, but just trust me, it is a real benefit that you have to consider as well. Alright guys, so I hope that was helpful just to touch on each of them at a surface level. If you want me to do another video digging deeper into any one of these, please drop your comments below on which one you want more info about, and I'd be happy to shoot another video. But just a quick recap. So the 5 ways that real estate pays you is number 1, cash flow. Number 2 is debt pay down. Those are the payments you make every month that pay the principal down. Number 3 is appreciation. Number 4 is depreciation, so writing that portion off on your taxes. And number 5 was the inflation hedging benefit. So as the government prints money and makes it worth less, that also makes your payment to them worth less every month, and you're locking that rate in. So guys, if this was helpful at all, I'd love a like or subscribe or share with somebody else you think it might benefit. But with that, we'll wrap. I'm Tyler Wayron. We'll catch you next time.